With Bambu Lab printers being some of the hottest printers on the market right now, and their slicer, Bambu Studio, being one of the newer slicers on the market, it was only a matter of time before a new challenger is approaching. Let's take a look at OrcaSlicer. Let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and if you're excited to learn about OrcaSlicer, make sure to leave a like and get subscribed. This is going to be my first look, so I'm sure I'm going to miss things. So if I did, let me know in those comments, and we'll make sure to do an update video where we look at some of the really cool features inside of Orca. I know of a few of them, but I'm sure I'm going to miss quite a few. But this is what open source is all about. OrcaSlicer is a fork from Bambu Studio, which looks objectively similar. Like, seriously, they look pretty much the same. I love that, because if you are looking for something a little bit better, changing the entire UI and UX is gonna suck. Similar to how SuperSlicer is Prusa Slicer for control freaks, OrcaSlicer seems to be very much the same thing, where it is Bambu Studio for control freaks. And don't worry, this appears to be a good thing. Softfever and their team are doing an amazing job of keeping this thing updated, to the point where Bambu stole a lot of it. And I know that Bambu has since corrected themselves, but that was only after major community backlash. In fact, this video was supposed to be about Bambu Studio's most recent beta, but since it's basically just them stealing everything from OrcaSlicer, well, it just made sense to just look at OrcaSlicer instead. But right off the hop, I see something that I absolutely wish that Bambu had done earlier. The freaking lines for everything on your printer. This is part of the LiDAR scanning bit on the X1 Carbon, and if you put a part over it, you can end up with these little pieces of printed material stuck in your parts. It makes for an ugly first layer. So with them already right there on the bed, it means I'm not going to do that or have to slice. Oops, it's in the way, move it, slice again, check it, slice it again, check it. You don't have to go through all that rigmarole. It just works, and you can place things nice and close without having any problems. And I'm sorry, that might not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but my gosh, that is convenient as all sin for somebody like me who just wants to get these things printing and go. And don't worry, we're going to be doing a lot of printing coming up as we do all of the parts for our LDO supplied Voron Trident 300. So if you are excited for that, make sure to get subscribed, because that is coming very soon. And hey, if you are looking to do so, we do have options for Patreon, PayPal, and YouTube channel members, all linked in that description down below. With the $10 tier and higher, getting you access to our private Discord, where you can actually help me choose some of the colors. One of the great features about OrcaSlicer is that you can name the freaking plates. If I wanted to come in here and call this plate Galaxy Blue, I can name that Galaxy Blue, and without having to change the physical colors of all the parts, I know what the color of that plate is. If you happen to be someone that runs a business doing this, when you get jobs coming in for clients, you can put their names as the plate name. That helps you better track your orders. That's great. I love that. When you are really trying to push calibration to its limits, having built-in calibration is really important. OrcaSlicer has a dedicated button for it. You can see that we can do things such as temperature, flow rate, pressure advance, retraction, the tolerance test, and more, including things like max flow rate and VFA. And they even include a full tutorial, which opens up to their GitHub. Love the fact they put together an entire tutorial to help you better figure out precisely what your flow rates need to be. That does, of course, require you to set very specific profiles for each filament that you have. The general user likely isn't looking to go that hardcore. You can look at setting it for generic PLA, but each color is going to have a very slight difference. If you are the person that likes to chase zeros, this level of calibration absolutely works out. And if you wanted to, even got that Orca tolerance test right there. Is that Comic Sans? It is Comic Sans. I'm deducting a point for Comic Sans. Oh, this industry is just full of dumb memes, and Comic Sans is one of them. Some of the main features inside of OrcaSlicer that you previously did not get with Bambu is the auto calibration for all printers. That's awesome, where I can just throw in a file, calibrate it, and check it. They also now offer the sandwich mode, which is an improved version of the external perimeters first mode, which is the inner perimeter, outer perimeter, then inner perimeter. They have precise wall, which is still experimental, clipper support, so if you are looking for one slicer to rule them all, like One Ring, as you do go down your path of hyper-fast 3D printers, a lot of them use clipper. And while we are looking at upgrading the SV06, the SV06 Plus, and the Flying Bear Reborn 2 all to run clipper, having a software that natively supports clipper is awesome. Now, I don't know if OrcaSlicer does. That's something I still need to figure out because I still have not used clipper. Coming soon, TM. But it is nice to see OrcaSlicer is doing it from the get-go. They also have their Orca Arena profiles, which are literally just clones of the Bambu Lab X1 Carbon profiles, but for generic clipper printers. So if you are looking to try to see if you can beat out an X1 Carbon, hey, that's a great place to start. And of course, because it is open source, they've got a wonderful changelog here full of lots and lots of things. It's great when you can work with a community rather than against them. It's a shame that some companies don't see it that way too. Some other really great features are ones that I didn't think that I would like, but here I am really liking it. The Prusa behind me is one of the only machines in the shop that has an internet connection. It runs Octoprint, and if you click the little Wi-Fi icon next to the printer, you can bring up connections, which, if you give it the right URL, ID, and passkey, under device, you can literally use Octoprint, Clipper, Mainsail, right freaking there. That's one less tab I have to have open. And one less notification I have to turn away because I never update my file. This is legitimately cool. Not something that I thought that I would use, but yeah, I actually think I'm gonna use the heck out of this. That would really look at pushing me to maybe building a secure network for running printers remotely, because systems like Octoprint don't need the exterior network. They only need interior LAN, which is really cool. Looking at the settings, it is much of the similar that you will see inside of Bambu Studio, with just a couple of extra things. Because we're utilizing printers that aren't just Bambu and ones that are Marlin as well, you might need some extra stuff in here, including things like file name format, which we can see down there. But inside of the filament settings themselves, you have some options here. And do note, -1% disables overrides inside of SoftFever. So if that is something you need to do, make sure to set it to -1 and don't wonder what the heck -1 was, because that's what I did for like 3 seconds. Of course, settings override and advanced, as you would expect with your filament G-code. Under the machine itself, the first thing I love is that the machine actually shows you the build plate. A lot of times when you set up printers inside of other slicers, you might not be able to find the STL, then the SVG for your build plate. OrcaSlicer already has it for quite a few of the machines, including things like G-code thumbnails and things like speed up and kickstart times, should you actually need it. It is pretty funny though, if all things are the same, to just see how crazy Bambu accelerations are versus, well, how not crazy Mark III's accelerations are. But we are looking to upgrade to the Mark 3.5 on all of our machines. It's gonna be a lot. But that to me is the best bet, so stay tuned. That is coming in the future. A lot of this is exactly what you expect, and because Bambu Studio is built upon OrcaSlicer, which is then built upon Schlick 3R, and SoftFever's OrcaSlicer is built upon all of those, a lot of what you've come to expect already exists in here. The one thing I will say is that the transition from a OrcaSlicer to an OrcaSlicer or Bambu Studio is not the cleanest. While you do have all the functionality that you had, it is just not in the same places that you expect. Arguably, it's in better positions. I have come to like having all of my options available right here. The thing I don't like is the Objects tab itself. Actually go here and look at objects, it's just so much. If I do have custom settings, you can't easily see them other than the fact that there is an icon to tell you that you have adjusted some settings. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'd like in OrcaSlicer, where if I do that, you can see the drop down immediately, and if you want, you can hide it. I much prefer that style for me. It's not perfect here. It could be much worse. But Grant, you might say, what if my printer isn't in the list? You would just go for a generic printer. Or, you know, if there's something relatively close in this list, you could easily just modify it and make it work. Do note though, these generic profiles are going to be just that, generic profiles. If you have custom start and stop G-code, retraction G-code, speed, and that kind of thing, you'll want to make sure that you copy all of those settings over. So let's say you have an Ender 3, just a generic bone stock, run-of-the-mill, $100 for Micro Center, generic Ender 3. It's not listed in these profiles. You could grab an Ender 3 V2, make some modifications to it. That's all that you would need to do. If you do need to set up a printer from scratch though, that's gonna be the generic printer. And we can see they're listed under My Clipper or My Marlin. Just rename it to whatever you would need. It's a great option, although a bit of a pain in the butt if you are looking to build something from scratch. I want to do some test prints between these, but I want to know what you guys want to see. Let's compare Bambu Studio straight to OrcaSlicer, and we'll use the Bambu to do it. Barring any mechanical issues, of course, I want to compare the software side by side to see which one prints better, which one prints faster, and why. We will be doing that in an upcoming video, so let me know what you guys want to see in those comments down below, and we'll make sure to run them. And hey, you know what? Since it can do it, might as well make time lapses out of them too. Kill two birds with one stone where we can. Just from looking at it here, I really like OrcaSlicer, and the fact that when I bring a bunch of models in, I can just do that and I get another plate. OrcaSlicer, I'm sorry, I didn't know I needed this feature until I had it inside of Bambu. It is so nice just to put models on different plates. And while, yes, these are just time lapses that are either coming or we decided against. If I wanted to have more models here, I can't just add more plates. It just yells at me because things are not where they belong. I hope that one day OrcaSlicer can add that in. And that's the value of open source. They can do it! All they gotta do is ask. I think between the build plates, the naming, and the calibration, you got a lot of great opportunity here that makes OrcaSlicer worth a lot of the hassle of moving over to a new slicer. This is my first look, so I haven't had any experience with it just yet beyond really filming this video. But don't worry, I'm gonna be switching to it here for the next few weeks, so I get to experience what it's like try out a brand new slicer, because honestly, everybody that I've talked to that has used OrcaSlicer says they have no reason to ever use Bambu Studio again. Let me know what you guys think of OrcaSlicer down in those comments below. That's all we got for you guys today. Don't forget, let me know what test models that you want to see, and we'll get them added. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one. Hey, thanks so much for watching this video, and a massive thank you goes out to all of our channel supporters whose names are listed right next to me at the $5 tier and higher. Remember, if you want to support the efforts that we do here on the channel, you can do so by clicking those links down in that description down below. Right below me will be my first look at OrcaSlicer 2.6, and next to that will be my 6-month video for owning a Bambu Lab X1 Carbon. It is what it is. I'll see you guys down in those comments, and in the next one. Take care.